Back in the mid-'80s, I was passionate about Ferraris, and especially the Ferrari F40 that you can see behind me. Now, this 2025 Montreal edition of the International Auto Show has something for everybody, including this huge collection of Ferraris. Now, you know that this channel isn't about gas-powered cars, but that's okay because this show also has a large selection of electric vehicles like Lucid, Volkswagen, Ford, and Polestar with the Polestar 4, 3, and 2. My name is Andre Lawrence, and this is EV-olution. Because this is Canada and everything happens a lot later than in the US and in Europe, I'm finally getting access to the Volkswagen ID.Buzz long wheelbase, the North American version. Now, this is the show, so I'm not going to be trying it, but the press fleet vehicle is available and I will be getting my hands on it, so stay tuned. And if you want to see this vehicle in a video, put it in the comment section below. We'll be sure to review it and answer your questions. Another vehicle at the auto show that I'll be getting my hands on is the Polestar 3 that I've got right here. If this is also a vehicle that you're interested in seeing, then please put that in the comment section below. If you have any specific questions about the vehicle, any differences that there might be with the Polestar 2, well, put it down there as well and we'll be sure to answer them. I'm here with Laetitia Lopez, the Global Design Manager for Cadillac, to talk about some of the design features of their 4 electric vehicles, well, 5 if you count the Escalade IQ. So, if you could just tell us a little bit about what you do at Cadillac?
Absolutely. I am in charge of the colors, the materials, and the finishes for the brand.
That's excellent, because one of my questions is very, very specific to the finish and the materials. We'll get to my pet peeve later. I guess the first question that I have that you might not be able to answer, but I figure I'll ask it anyways, is the first time I saw the Cadillac Lyriq a couple of years ago, it struck me that the interior, the front of the interior design was, from what I saw, heavily inspired by the Kia EV6. I have one, and I just went, wow, super familiar. By the way, I love it. It's not a bad thing. There are differences. So I guess my question is, where did the inspiration for the Lyriq's front design come from?
So you mean the exterior design?
In the interior, the front of the interior, the dashboard, the curve, the arc of the instrument cluster, the dual screens, the angle of the dash, the console with the angle and the little, it's not a shifter, but is very, very, very reminiscent of the EV6. And I was just curious as to, did you hire somebody from Kia?
So basically the interior of the Lyriq has been inspired by the Cadillac DeVille from 1970. So no link with any of our competitors.
Okay.
What you can notice in the interior is that the technology has been celebrated. So we don't have a standard rectangular display. We do have a 33 inches curved LED, which is larger than most of our competitors.
Yes.
In addition, the curve is also perfectly harmonizing with the surfaces. It is integrated. We call this artistic integration of the technology with Cadillac. Another aspect that we emphasize with our brand is functional decoration. So instead of just being a screen, it's also a piece of sculpture, a piece of art sitting on the dashboard. And I would like to emphasize as well the attention to details, the noble materials used on Lyriq. You have the knobs which are like jewelry across the interior. With the knurling, you have leather with quilting and embroidery on the seats. So all of those elements are really unique to Cadillac to place our brand back as standard of the world.
It shows, and there's definitely a step up in terms of luxury with regards to the competing products. And I did notice some very fine details that are obviously a level up. Now, the EV6 is an excellent vehicle. I love my car, but the Lyriq, when I sat in it, it feels more upscale. There are certain details that are a little more, I don't know if the word is refined, but there are just certain things that I appreciated more. I do like the way that the top of the screen actually curves slightly downwards towards the right side. It gives it a little bit more of flow. So, very nice, well done, and thank you for the answer and the clarification. So no, they didn't hire somebody from Kia. Over the next 3 to 5 years, all Cadillacs, they don't look alike. This is normal that all cars have a similar look in a brand. But will there be a distinction that'll be made over the next 3 to 5 years to segment or separate slightly the electric vehicles from the traditional gas vehicles?
Good question. So I think we have a global approach, and we don't really distinguish electric line versus the ICE line. We focus more on our design language and our DNA. The inspiration is obviously our heritage as well. So when you drive a Cadillac, when you are looking for a Cadillac, we want to make sure this is communicated through the full lineup.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. The next question is a question that actually, well, it comes from David. And I figured I would ask the question because he wanted the answer. One of the cars that isn't here right now is the Celestiq. Now, the Celestiq is a very low production vehicle annually. It's about 500 vehicles a year. They're handmade. There's a lot of custom stuff and 3D printing that goes in the vehicle for certain parts of it, not just trim, but structural parts as well, which is very cool and appropriate for a low volume production vehicle. But the question that David had is, because that Cadillac design language is very familiar throughout, and that most Cadillacs have a lot of angles, are very muscular and angular looking and elegant, was the design of the Celestiq, which is very rounded and teardrop and not quite in the same language, was that a design choice to make it its own because it's a very expensive, unique, and it's in its own category? Or is it a question of aerodynamics and a need for improved aerodynamics because the vehicle is huge and heavy?
So what you may not know is that actually Celestiq is the very first vehicle who has been designed for this future lineup. So we started as a vision model. It was an internal project originally until we decided to have it in production. As you're saying, this is a coach-built vehicle. So this vehicle did lead the way for the full portfolio. So the intent here was to emphasize our design language. So we kept, of course, the vertical lamps, the shields in the front. All of those elements are Cadillac owned, right? And then we wanted to bring more sculpture, a sleek design across the full lineup. So if we look at the Escalade IQ, for example, you will still see those more elegant form, less angular. We wanted to have something more modern, more inviting maybe, and have the same language across the full lineup. So Lyriq, Optiq, IQ, Vistiq, they are all going through the same design element, the same design language. And when you see them as a family, they are a family of vehicles. They really speak to each other. You can definitely see this is a Cadillac.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I didn't know that the Celestiq was the foundation for the future designs, and now that you mention it, when I look at the back of
now
of
you
the
can
vehicle
see.
right there, I can see the back of the Celestiq influencing the back of that vehicle.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Okay, well, I learned something new. Look at that. Speaking of 3D printing, like I said, it's appropriate for a very low production vehicle to have 3D printed parts, and especially when it comes to structural parts, printing in metal. But one of the questions I had, it's a coach-built, hand-built product, and yes, it's bespoke. I was just curious, who decided that certain aspects of the vehicle could be customized, like the trim, the metal trim of the steering wheel, the sill plates, some of those things? I think it's an interesting idea, but first, how much does that cost? And who decided that was something that would be an option, and why?
Basically, you are mentioning a couple of parts here. It's not, Celestiq has absolutely no limit.
If you're wondering why that interview finished on a question and didn't get an answer, and why it kind of looks finished and half-assed, well, that's because we had a technical difficulty, meaning that the recorder on our 3-camera setup decided that it was going to cut out and not record the last portion of that video. And that brings up a problem because I have a pet peeve with piano black plastic, and that was the question that I wanted to ask her because she is the person who decides on materials on Cadillac vehicles. So I didn't get to ask why Cadillac and every other manufacturer, but specifically Cadillac, decides to put plastic that's black and shiny in and outside of their vehicles. I would have finally got an answer and maybe convinced her that it was a bad idea. One electric vehicle at the Montreal International Auto Show that a lot of people wanted to see was the Charger Daytona. And I got a couple of those vehicles right here. If this is a vehicle that you'd like to see me do a review of, please put it in the comment section below. I'll find a contact at Dodge Canada and get my hands on one of their press fleet vehicles and see just how this electric muscle car performs. If you follow Kia media news and you've seen the PV5, that's a minivan from Kia that's coming into production soon. They've got it road testing in the United States. Well, this PV5 WKNDR, or Weekender, is a concept vehicle that we don't know if it's going to come into production. So far, it's just a concept. Hopefully, there'll be enough interest and people will say, yeah, we want one, and Kia will build it. Pretty cool concept. Like I said earlier, Canada's always late for reveals. The Ioniq 9 has been released everywhere else, but this is the Canadian reveal of the 2025 Ioniq 9 at the Montreal International Auto Show, and it's about to start. Well, let's have a look. The Ioniq 9 finally being revealed in Canada, we get a close-up look at what we've got, and it's a 7-passenger SUV that's electric, just like the Kia EV9 that we got to review in a video that came out in August, and I'll have a link for that up on the screen here for you to see. Now, there are a lot of differences that you've got with this vehicle as compared to the Kia EV9, and one of the things that surprised me is, generally speaking, you've always had a sort of a hierarchy of Hyundai, then Kia, and then Genesis in terms of quality or luxury, not quality, but luxury. But this particular vehicle, the Ioniq 9, I would have to say kind of gives the impression of being more luxurious than the Kia EV9. Now, this is a pre-production vehicle, so I will eventually get access to an Ioniq 9 in the press fleet to go over all of the details and give you my real impression. But for now, we can have a close-up look at some of these interior shots. Over the last 3 years, we've seen lots of videos about the Kia EV6 because, well, I own one and I love my car. This is the 2025 refresh of the EV6 that has some minor differences, but also some bigger differences and a couple little things that I thought were pretty interesting. If you want to see a video of this, put it in the comment section below and I'll be happy to get one of the press vehicles for a full week and give a more in-depth review and answer your questions. Another car that I was surprised to see here at the Montreal Auto Show was the Lucid Gravity, the electric SUV that's coming out from Lucid. They only had the Air, which is the sedan, and I think this is going to be a big hit. Unfortunately, everything is closed up because it's kind of late in the day, but at least you get to see a quick look of the outside. Why does the Ioniq 5N exist? Well, there's one reason. It's not because it makes sense, it's because it's so friggin' cool. The Ioniq 5N is the Ioniq 5, which is a great car, turned up a notch to make gearheads say, what the heck, is this a gas car? If you drive the Ioniq 5N with the paddle shifters and the sound of a gas car on a track, you'd be hard-pressed to know that it wasn't a gas car. Now, this is something that we're going to experience because we're going to get a press fleet vehicle. And if you really want to see that video, put it in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to take note and let you know when it comes out if you press that subscribe and that notification bell. I hope you enjoyed this quick tour of the 2025 Montreal International Auto Show and some of the electric vehicles that are here. Like I mentioned earlier in this video and other segments, if you want to see anything that you've seen in this video or any of the electric vehicles that are not shown in this video, because there were way too many to show, put it in the comment section below and we'll contact the fleet manager and get access to the car and answer your questions. So put those questions down there. Now, David and I really like the fact that you hit that like button, which is super important because it tells us that our videos are worth making. But what's even more important is the notification bell that's attached to the subscribe button. And that's because, well, like you might have seen in the last couple of videos, we got a great Christmas gift as YouTubers is if you don't have the notification bell checked off, even if you're subscribed to our channel, well, you're not going to find out that we put out new content, which is kind of ridiculous, but there you go. So be sure to click that notification bell. And once again, David and I would like to thank you for taking the time to watch our video.